Welcome back to the On Air with Jamie podcast. Today's show is brought to you by The Shift, my one-on-one intensive where we completely shift the trajectory of your business in just 7 days. I feel like a couple of things. Firstly, I cannot believe that I've had this podcast for as long as I've had this freaking podcast. And this is the first real episode that I have done, really deep diving into the superconscious. Like, that is just actually mind blowing to me because it's literally like it's the core essence of what I do. And number two, I'm actually a little bit like nervous, excited to share all of this. But this episode is really going to give you like so much understanding of the actual work I do, and hopefully also why I'm so passionate about this modality and why I infuse it into absolutely everything I do. Like everything I do. We do not do a program, a course, or even a masterclass in my world that does not involve this process, or at least something very similar to it. So let's just dive straight in because this potentially could be a really long episode, and I don't want it to be that way. I want to give you all of the information to really help you understand everything there is to understand about the Superconscious Recode, why I'm so passionate about it, why I'm obsessed with it, and why I believe that this is actually the missing key to so much for people. Like, if you are someone who wants to create extraordinary results in an extraordinary way, right? Collapsing time, quantum leaping, manifesting with ease, I believe that this process, this modality, this work needs to be a part of your everyday life. I truly, truly believe that. What I love the most about this work is that we get to do it on a micro and a macro level. And what I mean by that is we can use it for the big things, right? We can use it to recode self-sabotage patterns, for perfectionism, for imposter syndrome, to release trauma from the body, for all of those big things that really hold people back, right? But on a micro level, we can use it on a week by week basis to keep in action, to keep building momentum, and to remove the resistance to just your everyday life freaking action, right? And I've seen it used in both of these ways. And honestly, the people who are able to use it, like, number one, to address all of those like big rocks, right? Those big things, those big pillars, the things that are really keeping them stuck, that's the first step, right? But then to really integrate this work, to be able to have access to this work, to this modality on a week by week basis to literally keep in action. I'm talking like the way that we do this is every week we're looking at, okay, what is our plan? What are our intentions for the week? Where are we going? What do we need to achieve this week? What actions do we need to do? Like, what's on our to-do list? And really looking at all of that, and then literally looking at, okay, what resistance am I feeling here? Like, what's coming up? What little stories? Where am I feeling little tweaks of overwhelm? Where am I going into overthinking? And we can recode all of that before it even becomes an issue. This is where I rabbit on about doing this work like proactively, or as we call it in medicine world, prophylactically, where we're doing the work before the things become a problem. Okay, I feel like I just went way off on a tangent. I do actually have notes for this episode, which I normally don't do a lot in the notes way, but I needed to keep myself on track. And as you can see, when I don't have notes, I go off on tangents and like little transmissions and whatever. So when it comes to the actual phrase superconscious, because I find that when I speak about this, like this word in itself is like the very first thing that really trips people up. Now, I'm going to explain exactly what superconscious is in this episode, as well as talking about the recode and everything that you need to understand the recode, how it works, why it works, all of the things, right? But what I want to start with is just by saying, like, recently I've been really diving into the world of superconscious, really consuming superconscious in all of the different forms. And the reason I say all of the different forms is because what I have discovered is that this phrase, this term coined superconscious, right? It's actually spoken about in so many different ways in regards to the three main themes of number one, healing, number two, intuition, and number three, creation or manifestation. In this episode, I'm purely going to be talking about it under the theme of the healing. But what I think is so cool is like just the texts and the people that I've come across over the last, couple of months that actually are referring to what I call superconscious, but don't necessarily call it that. So, a beautiful example that I think almost everyone will be able to relate to is Joe Dispenza. If you have dived into any of his work, like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, You Are the Placebo, all of those things, he really talks so much about the quantum field, right? And healing and energetically healing and all of that. And things like that, right? So what I truly believe he is referring to is the very same thing that I call superconscious. So, just to make some connections for you, another book that refers to superconscious is Journey of Souls. If you've read that, it's a beautiful recount of people's past life experiences and like where they have actually crossed over, and written by a hypnotherapist who actually takes people into a state of super conscious where they're then able to access this information from past lives, right? And so it's so interesting to be diving into this world and seeing all these different people referring to the very thing that I work with, right? Okay, so let's go into, in a nutshell, exactly what the superconscious recode is, because talking about the way other people use it is not showing you exactly how I use it, even though there's so many similarities. So, in a nutshell, the superconscious rapid recode is a scientifically validated technique that allows you to dissolve limiting beliefs. It allows you to neutralize fears, to overcome deep conditioning, to stop self-sabotage, to release trauma from your body, to do so many different things, right? But the most important thing here is that we're doing all of this by addressing and recoding at the root cause. The root cause. And I want you to really I want this to land, because forever I rabbit on about how important it is to not go diving into our subconscious mind looking for problems, looking for where things are at, because we just don't know where the actual problem stems from. When I say the root cause, I mean the very first thing that implanted that belief, right? The very first experience, whether that be, and this is where it's going to blow your brain, whether that be in this lifetime, in another lifetime, in a family member's lifetime, like we have access to it all via the superconscious. This is true root cause work. And we're not diving into the subconscious looking for where things are. We're not taking you back, asking you to bring up the root cause, asking you to bring up that first, active experience. Your superconscious is doing it for you. And I just think it's so beautiful. So the process itself was originally founded by psychotherapist Colette Stryker. And she basically was doing lots of research on work, particularly by a doctor named Gary Flint. And he had done a lot of work in this area where he basically discovered that the brain had the capability of healing itself. The brain had the capability of finding these problems, of finding the root cause, and then going into it and literally rewiring itself with the right guidance. Now, when Colette first really founded this and started implementing Gary's work, she was really using it to neutralize fears and phobias with her clients. She then introduced the process or the modality, whatever you want to call it, and I use the phrases interchangeably. But she then introduced the process, and I actually don't believe that she calls it the Superconscious Rapid Recode. She calls it something else, but she introduced it to Chris Duncan, or Christopher Michael Duncan, as he is formerly known online. He has written a few books now about this if you're interested in really diving into this world. And he was my mentor for quite a number of years and the very person that I learned this process from. I was heavily involved in his group programs and mentorship, and working in really close proximity with him before I actually studied the certification. So I had experienced all this work myself before I chose to then go and actually study it and become a certified coach. And I always say, like, I didn't just become a certified coach to have a certification. I became a certified coach in this modality, in learning this process, because this work truly changed my life. This work was like the biggest shift that I have had, and the reason that I believe I have gone through quantum leap after quantum leap after quantum leap in my own like inner world, in my own self-growth and evolution of me as the human behind the business. This work is the very key to it all. Now, Chris didn't just take Colette's modality and then go and spread it as his own. They actually worked together and still do work together in this area. And they have worked together for a number of years. He speaks about all of this in his books. But he actually then started to combine this process by work by other people, and in particular, one who is an alchemist and best-selling author, William Whitecloud. You might know him if you've read The Magician's Way, but William is really known for intuition and creation and literally like creating magic in your world, right? And so he introduced to Chris the component to this that I'm not really going to speak to in this episode, but this is what you experience when you do a session with me, where we're not looking for the problems, we're allowing your subconscious mind to experience your desired reality and tell us what's in the way. This is the structural tension, like the creative tension that we set up between where you are now and where you want to be. He really helped expand on this work outside of the realm of just healing and moving more into the intuition and the creation and the manifestation side of things. So honestly, I truly believe that the Superconscious Recode is like nothing else I have ever experienced in this realm of personal development. I have experienced NLP, EFT, so many different things, kinesiology, and for me, this was just like, it's like, for me, it's the be all and end all. Honestly, that's the only thing I have to say. It really is the be all and end all because it is so encompassing. It's like a one-stop shop. The thing I love the most about it is that it is fast, it is very simple when you're on the receiving end, and it actually feels light. We're not going into past traumas, we're not digging things up and looking for problems in our life. We're not needing to get hyper emotional and feel it to heal it or anything like that. And the most important thing is that irrespective of all of that, we're addressing everything at the root cause. Like, it's not a band-aid. It's not a let's bypass this. It's a let's actually reprogram that because that doesn't serve us. Like, maybe once it did, you know, our subconscious obviously took that belief on or took that memory on or whatever for a reason. And the reason was to keep us safe, but that is no longer needed to keep us safe, right? And so when I say it's a one-stop shop, I truly mean that because we're not just shifting our mind or shifting our energy. It's true neural reprogramming. We are creating new neural pathways in our mind, but also we are shifting our energy. We are clearing chakras. We are unblocking chakras. We are unblocking energy systems within our body. We are releasing trauma from the body. And I'm going to start to speak to that whole thing, not in this episode, but a lot from here on in, because I've been doing a lot of work with the recode in this area in particular, in like really releasing things from my body, not just from my mind. And like the shifts that have happened in my life since I started doing that are fucking next level. So that will be a future episode. I feel like I've got the biggest list of future episodes, but anyway, we're just doing the thing right. Anyway, the thing that I love all of it. The thing that I would say is the most important for you is that this is efficient. This is the most, and this is a big fucking phrase, but we're going there. This is the most efficient way to reprogram your mind, to release trauma from your body, to shift the energy from your body, to fucking unblock your body, right? This is the most efficient way. It really is. I see everywhere mindset tools and strategies that require you to journal every day, to meditate all the time, to, do big rounds of EFT tapping or tap every day, or like you're always having to do something in order to maintain it, or you're having to just dive into your conscious mind, which I feel like I've rabbited on enough about why I just don't think that that's a good idea. But in case this is your first episode, welcome. And the reason I don't like that is because, in my opinion, looking for the root cause of a problem that you're facing from a conscious mind perspective is quite literally like looking for a needle in a haystack. And so when you decide that you're going to pull out your journal in order to work through a limiting belief, you're literally just dredging shit up to dredge shit up. And I see so many women do this as a self-sabotage pattern in itself. They get stuck in needing and wanting to heal, to fix themselves, to dredge everything up, to look for all the possible limiting beliefs that could possibly be ever keeping them back. And they use this to keep stuck in a cycle of healing because it feels safer to be stuck there than to be actually out in the field, taking action on the things that they know they need to do in order to bring their dreams into their reality. And so for me, this is the most efficient work because you don't need to do any of that. Like, you literally can be on a call with me, and I've had records that are as little as 10 minutes, like literally as little as 10 minutes to reduce resistance from and this is like, we ask clients to give a numerical value. It's kind of like in hospital, the pain scale, where it's like, out of 10, how much pain are you feeling? If you've ever come across that, we do that, right? And it's like, how much resistance are you feeling? How heavy does this feel in your body? When you look at all of these things that we've unpacked in this session, how heavy does that feel? How does it feel? How much resistance are you feeling? And they give me a numerical value, right? And I've seen people get down from like an 8 to a 2 in a 10-minute recode, right? And we can go in a couple of times to really clear things up. Usually, like, I've honestly never had anyone leave a session on anything more than a 2, and I wouldn't let you go. So it's really powerful, it's really efficient, and of course, the most efficient thing is that we're getting to the root cause, right? We're getting to the root cause. So it is something that, even though you can sometimes still have similar patterns pop up, they're coming from a different root cause. They're not coming from the same root cause, if that makes sense. If anything doesn't make sense, by the way, during this episode, please reach out to me on Instagram, because I really want to be speaking a lot more to this. I want people to really understand the work I do and why it's so important and why I'm so in love with it. And if I need to do a follow-up episode, I can totally do that, or I can just talk to you over on Instagram, create some content to really, really clear this up. So let's go into now how this works. The coolest thing is that, like, you're probably already like, what the fuck is the superconscious, right? Because we haven't really spoken about that. So let's start there. What is the superconscious? So contrary to popular belief, you actually have 3 levels of consciousness. So everyone generally now knows, or if you've been in this space for a while, you absolutely know that there are 2 levels of consciousness, right? You have your conscious mind, which is everything you're consciously aware of. It's your thoughts. It's your identity, essentially. Anything that you're consciously aware of, like you're in your conscious mind now listening to this podcast, that is your consciousness, right? Then you have your subconscious mind. That is your autopilot. That is your beliefs, your emotions come from here. It's where traumas are stored. And it's really like it's a mind body thing, right? So a lot of people, though, still talk about consciousness being the mind, subconscious being the body, and then superconscious essentially is like the spirit. But there's a little bit more overlap and over layers than that. But essentially, conscious mind, everything that you're aware of, that's ego, right? And then unconscious mind is memories and stored beliefs and autopilot, right? It's how your body runs. It's like the computer system. Now, superconscious. Let's talk about superconscious, because I actually have so much to say about this. So the first thing I want you to think of with superconscious is that it is your energetic field, right? It is your energetic field, but it is a level of consciousness. It's your innate intuition. It is your innate wisdom, your higher self, right? And it is this part of you that has access to all knowledge, all wisdom, all information across all timelines. It's your connection to the quantum, your connection to the universe, and your connection to everything else in our universe. That's right. We are all connected, and we're all connected via superconscious. Carl Jung, who is like, I actually believe he was one of the original founders of like shadow work. Anyway, he certainly formed the shadow archetypes. Anyway, so he always referred to this thing called collective unconscious. Now, truthfully, I've not actually come across anyone who uses his work and his teachings and his archetypes online actually speak to this collective unconscious. But this collective unconsciousness that he is referring to is superconscious, right? It is this energetic field, right? It's like quantum, okay? Quantum is an energetic field full of information, full of wisdom, it's essentially energy, right? It's here, but we can't physically see or touch it, okay? And so we're all connected by this. And it's not just as simple as it's all one and we're all part of this one field. So the way I want you to think of it is layers. Layers like an onion, right? But not really like an onion. So you have your own superconscious layer, right? And then your family has a superconscious layer. And actually, your family, right up to 7 generations back, have layers and layers and layers. So it goes out with you, then your family, then your extended family, then your extended family beyond that, right up to 7 generations. Now, I was always taught 7 generations, but I have since seen data that suggests that these layers, this like superconscious field, potentially goes up to 14 generations, which I just think is wild. But the reason that it's important for me to be addressing this is so that you understand that family trauma, or like ancestral trauma, ancestral wounds, beliefs, stories, conditioning, can actually be passed down up to 7 to 14 generations, which I just think is insane. If you think to your family, just even 7 generations ago, what their life was like to what your life is like now. For some people, this means that you have ancestors who went through incredibly traumatic times. And part of that trauma, part of those woundings have been passed down to you through this field, right? Through this field, through the conditioning, through the beliefs, and even in our DNA. But I'm not going to go into epigenetics in this episode because that is another whole can of worms. But the important thing to know is that the things that we deal with, that form our limiting beliefs and our self-sabotage patterns and cycles, don't just all come from the ages of 0 to 7. And I know everyone talks about that, and that is true. That is where a lot of it comes from, and that is where we are deeply conditioned as human beings in this lifetime. But we already come here, we're already born with this other layer of conditioning and of wounding and of trauma from before we even start to be conditioned in this lifetime. So I hope that all really makes sense. But essentially, superconscious, it is another layer of consciousness. It's your higher self. It's your connection to everything. It's your connection to your ancestors energetically, obviously. It's your connection to the quantum, so it has access to information from all timelines, all potentials, all possibilities. So I did an episode a little while ago talking about this and how I believe connecting to superconscious is really a big key in, building your business beyond. So go back and listen to that one if you really want to understand, the intuitive and the manifesting side of superconscious. But don't really want to talk too much into that anymore because I still have a lot to speak to. So when it comes to superconscious, it's also memory. So your superconscious is essentially like a physiological memory. Now, what that means is it's not actually stored here in your body or in your brain, but it's this energetic memory, right? And it predates your conscious and unconscious minds. I can't remember, truthfully, the exact gestation in utero as to when your conscious and unconscious minds start to be formed. Like, obviously, the brain begins to be formed, like, very, very early on in gestation. But when these other levels of like actual consciousness start to come in, your superconscious is already there. And I guess the best way to look at this is, like I said earlier, it's kind of like the mind, body, soul, all encompassing, right? So superconscious is already there when you are made, basically. So again, thinking of it as an energetic field of information, and it actually provides instructions, information, stories to your conscious and unconscious minds. These instructions then determine the actions, the decisions, and the responses that you're going to make to situations in your life. And therefore, we know from the belief cycle that I spoke about in another episode, but it's also on my Instagram, the belief cycle, which says we have these, memories, these thoughts, these feelings, right? Sorry, these memories and these beliefs and these thoughts that then trigger feelings and emotions that then trigger what actions we're going to take, which of course then determines the outcomes that we have in our life. What I want you to think of is that, your superconscious is also instructing your subconscious mind. So it's kind of two-pronged, right? You already have conditioning and beliefs from your own unconscious mind from the woundings and those 0 to 7 age gap. You also then have this extra layer from your superconscious, which predates all of that, that's also feeding information to your conscious and unconscious mind that is really shaping your life, right? And so the coolest thing is that you can connect to the superconscious energy field. You can recode and change these instructions. You can unplug from the limiting beliefs, self-sabotage patterns, and you can reprogram in new beliefs. Now, from this layer, we also have access to our whole body. So it's not just all working on the mind. We're not just releasing the beliefs. We're also releasing the stored energy. We're releasing the traumas, the woundings from the body so that we can literally do the things that we came here to do. And it is honestly wild when you start to release that stuff from the body rather than just working from a mind level, rather than just working from, I'm just going to rewire these beliefs and like writing out all your limiting beliefs and like, what is it called? I can't even think about it, but like reframing them and repeating affirmations and everything happening from a mind level. When we start to combine the body in it, the shifts are next level. And not just the shifts in your reality, but the shifts in you, in who you are, in your energy, in how you, show up, how you do life, but also in your health. And again, I'm not going to speak to that in this episode, but I am certainly going to record a whole episode of the biggest shifts that I've seen since I really started doing this release work from my body, because this for me has been like the missing piece to everything all along. Now, the reason that this works is that we're using our brain's capacity for neuroplasticity, which means, the brain is moldable. The brain is able to shift and change and heal itself. And we're using this capacity in order to rewire memories, beliefs, and stories that are essentially hindering your success. During a process or during the recode, your brain is replacing the old negative or like perceived negative connections, the connections that are currently holding you back, and it is replacing them with new neural connections. So it literally gives you immediate changes in the way you think, feel, and behave. Literally, immediate changes. We're starting to form these new neural connections. We're unplugging from the things that don't serve us, but also we're neutralizing emotions that do not serve us. Now, I'm not saying neutralizing emotions as a whole so that we become these like numb humans walking around like without feeling, right? It's not about that. But we neutralize emotions that are attached to certain memories that become triggers. When you've ever seen someone online and felt really triggered or activated by them. And it triggered this whole set of emotions before you could even remember like why you were triggered, right? That's what we do. We're unplugging from that. We're neutralizing those charged emotions so that in those circumstances, those things don't trigger you anymore. They're not activating you. When I say scientifically validated, I literally mean scientifically validated. So neuroscientists have studied this, and they've actually done brain measurements during a recode session. And I'm obsessed with this. You know that I love things to be really grounded and rooted in science, and to have that validation for me is really important. And what I love about this is because, let's be real, this recode really does combine. It's like, it's really pushing the edges of science, right? I'm talking about quantum science, yes, but quantum is such a field that so many people, even quantum physicists themselves, don't fully understand. And so a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, but this is just pseudoscience because it's all based on theory, right? And yes, I will absolutely say there is some theory. There's also a little bit of beautiful magic, but also scientific validation. I always say, like, the Superconscious Recode for me is the perfect blend of science meets spirituality meets just plain woo-woo fucking magic. And I'm so here for it. But when neuroscientists studied this process, they actually, they measured the brain activity during a recode, and they found that there were 3 centers that were positively activated and then altered during a session. So the centers were the center for memories, the center for pain, and the limbic system. So what this means for you is that what has been positively activated and altered is the center in your brain where all of your memories and beliefs are stored, right? And then the center where your feelings are, where the pain center is, right? Where there's negative emotion. So first the memory center gets activated, when you're triggered, right? This is how it works. The memory center gets activated, and it then triggers the pain center to send danger signals to the body. And then your limbic system, which is the third center that is activated, is what determines your action, right? So in a recode, we are activating our memory system, our emotion center, our pain center, and then also the center that controls the actions that we're taking. This is why it's so powerful. We're not just working on the memories, we're also working on those feelings and releasing that from our body. And then at the end of the day, which is the most important part, by the way, we're changing the action that we take. We're changing the action that we take. Because while, yes, your beliefs shape your reality, it's the actions that you take and the energy in which you take those actions from, the emotions, the feelings, the beliefs that are behind the actions that you're taking, that really determines what you achieve in your life. Now, the Superconscious Recode really is fast and gentle, and it is a painless process. While some people do get a little bit emotional during a session, that's totally normal. It's really not like dredging up past traumas or past shit in your life, right? I have come across so many, I've had so many different experiences in the personal development industry where I found like it was really heavy work, and I had to go looking for problems and diving into things that I just honestly didn't feel comfortable diving into. Not because I didn't want to feel the emotions or anything like that, not because I was trying to bypass anything, but just because I couldn't see how revisiting that shit was actually going to help me progress forwards. I'm someone who just wants to do things in an efficient way and reap the reward, basically. And you can call me, what do you call it, impatient or anything like that. That's cool, but I just don't see the point in dredging up things that we don't need to dredge up in order to move forward. Like, why are we playing over here when we want to be over here? Let's just do the thing here and then move forward, right? That's the way that I operate. And this process really allows you to do that. So we don't have to revisit past traumas. We don't have to find the original event and go back to it and relive it or anything like that. We allow our subconscious mind, number one, to tell us what's in the way, and we allow superconscious to reprogram and to bring things forth that your conscious mind isn't even aware of. When you go diving from a conscious perspective, your unconscious mind is so smart that it will hide things and suppress things from your conscious mind because it doesn't feel safe to bring these things to the front. So if you're always working in a journal trying to work through your limiting beliefs, you're never getting to the root cause because your unconscious mind is more than likely hiding things from you because the pain would be too much. Now, the other thing is that during a session, you're actually in full control. Your superconscious is in full control. It is so safe. Nothing will be brought up that isn't safe to be brought up. Nothing will be brought into your conscious mind, that's going to be too painful to deal with, right? But we're still going deep. We're still addressing all of that. You're just not consciously aware of it. And the coolest thing is that we really are eliciting transformation in minutes. Like 10 minutes is probably the quickest recode I've ever done. And I've recently been playing with doing multiple at a time. So one after the other, and kind of like doing little check-ins in between. And that is working really, really well. So to give you a very quick rundown on what a session looks like, during a session, we start with the thing that we desire. So all of the work that I do is future focused. It is all future focused. If you have a desire to go back into your past and to delve up things, I am not the coach for you. Everything that I do is relevant to where you want to be. Now, what comes up, even if it is things from the past, that's cool. I can deal with that with you. I can help you work through that stuff. But I'm not the person to come to if you want to basically sit and talk about your past, right? That will come as part of a session, but that's not our primary thing. That's not what we're there to do. Everything that I do is future focused, meaning we talk about what you desire. We talk about where you're heading, your goals, your dreams. And that's on a micro and a macro level. Remember, we can do this from like 10-year goals, 1-year goals, 1-month goals, 1-week goals, right? It's all about where you want to be and seeing yourself in that end result. Okay. And then we allow your mind to tell us, your superconscious, to tell us what is in the way from you having this. And it's honestly insane the things that come up, like the beliefs, the thoughts, the things that you are not even aware of, that you find yourself speaking out to me and you're like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? It came from your subconscious. It came from you, right? And again, this is all rather than having the conscious mind search for beliefs and things to pattern and recode. So we're working with the superconscious memory rather than the subconscious memory, which allows us to recode everything at the root cause, including beliefs that have been carried through from ancestral generations, right? So up to 7 to 14 generations, but also past lives, because this superconscious field comes with you. It's part of your soul, right? So no matter how many past lives you've lived, there will be traumas and woundings that you carry through each, and we can work on that through this process. So to give you a really quick rundown, during a recode, honestly, we do so much, and you wouldn't even think it because it happens so fucking fast. But during a recode, we are rewiring the beliefs, we are rewiring self-sabotage patterns, cycles, we're releasing trauma from the body, we are releasing familial or like ancestry trauma and woundings, we're releasing past life trauma and woundings, we're clearing stagnant energy from the body, we're clearing stagnant energy from the chakras, unblocking the chakras so that we've got one whole energetic system that's working well. But we also have other body systems that hold energy. Our whole body is energy, right? Our body systems are energy. Our gut is energy. Our womb is energy. Our heart, our lungs, our mind, our throat, like everything in our body is energy systems and centers that can potentially get blocked up because of these woundings, these beliefs, these traumas, right? And we are unblocking it all. We're also bringing together part personalities that cause conflict. So, to quickly touch on that before I finish off, we all have different aspects of us. It's different parts of our personality. Some people talk about it as like, oh, I'm putting on this hat now, and now I'm putting on my mom hat, and now I'm putting on this hat. But there's other parts, right? There is a protector controller, there is an inner child, there is a people pleaser. Like, we have all these different parts of us designed to keep us safe. And it doesn't mean, it's not the same as being like multiple personality disorder or anything like that. It's almost like compartmentalizing, but not, because we still are a whole personality and that's how we work. But the problem with having these different part personalities or these different parts of us is that often they have conflicting desires, right? So a really beautiful example is when you are a mum and you desire to be a present mum. So you have this hat that's the present mum hat, right? But you're also an entrepreneur and you want to have a fucking wildly successful business. So you have this hat that's the wildly successful entrepreneur hat, right? But when you think about those two, often you have a lot of underlying stories and beliefs that lead you to think you can't be both, right? And so you have these two personalities, this mom that wants to be so present with her children and be part of everything and not miss anything, but also this entrepreneur that maybe believes that it's really hard to balance being a present mom with being an entrepreneur. So they both, kind of want different things. And what will happen is they will start to self-sabotage because they can't both have what they want. One wants one thing, one wants the other thing, unless we can help them both see that actually we all want the same thing, and we remove the beliefs and allow these personalities to come back and all work together. You're going to keep self-sabotaging. Now, I realized that that was really not the way to end this episode, because that in itself, and I think I will do a whole episode on this, on part personalities, and really because I've touched on it before. And I think I really need to give you a clear rundown on what this means and how it comes at play. But if you're listening, I want you to just really think of that, like the two parts of you. You might have one part that's really bold and wants to be loud and out there, but this other part that's like the introvert, the shy one, right? Can you see how they're two complete opposites? And having these two complete opposite parts of you is going to keep you stuck. We need to bring those personalities together, and we do that during a recode. Holy moly, I feel like I just verbally vomited all over you, but I really hope that this episode has given you a more clear understanding of the work that I do, why I think it's so important, and why I have chosen to get behind this modality mainly, rather than the other modalities that I have learned, being NLP, EFT, and why I think that this is so important. I just think that for me, it's all about the most efficient way to do things. And for me, it's a no-brainer that this is the most efficient way to do it. I want to see you collapsing time and really like achieving more in your years than most people, or like what I should say is more in your weeks than most people achieve in their months, right? More in your 1 year than most people achieve in 5 years. And I know that this is possible with the right systems and structures and support. This work is obviously not the be all and end all in that, you do this and you magically manifest everything. There is the action piece still. Absolutely. You then have to go and do the things and put the offers out there and create the content and fucking show up as glorious you. And you still have to have, obviously, the strategies in your business to attract the right people and to build the funnels and to support your clients and all of that, right? Like, this work doesn't negate any of that. It's just a way to keep you in that momentum and out of your own way. Because the reason that there are so many women in this space who do not have the things that they want to have is because they can't get out of their own fucking way. And I feel like I am the walking fucking poster girl for the person who's always in her own way. And I could not be getting out of my way and evolving as fast as I am on an internal perspective. Like, I feel like I'm at the point now where I'm shifting internally so fast and at such a rapid rate that my reality is still trying to catch up. Like, we're we're collapsing timelines so much that by the time I have like, I'm manifesting one thing, I'm like 5 timelines ahead and still waiting for my reality to catch up. This is the realm that you get to play in. It's fucking magic. It is insane once you start tapping into this, the things that come through. It's just honestly next level. I have so much coming in my world that is all going to be rooted in this. And I really wanted to, like, I'm not actually going to talk about any of those offers yet, but I really wanted this to be like the teaser into that. Like, if you are like, fuck yes, this sounds so cool, I'm so intrigued, you've piqued my interest, you need to get on my email list, you need to be following me on Instagram, you need to keep listening to the podcast, because I do not want you to miss any of the fucking amazing stuff that I have coming. When I say there's something for everyone, there literally is. Like, I have an entire offer suite planned out, and we are about to get running.